organization, what you're doing. 5 minutes for each, and then we'll address the more serious questions. So, Valery, let's start with you, the Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Good morning, dear colleagues. I'd like to use this opportunity to thank the organizers for inviting me, and it's a pleasure that among the partners of today's event and in general the team engaged in this event, the Chamber of Commerce and Industry is there, which I represent today. I would like to be more practical. What the practical application it has for Ukrainian innovators and businesses to continue what Sergiy said, so that they need to understand what to do if they just launched the business and they want to develop it, engaging the assets of our foreign partners in the first place. I fully agree. Again, Sergiy, I'll refer I'll quote to you on many occasions today, but in a positive sense. If a good quality prepared investment project is the guarantee of your success, in addition to professionalism, the business needs to be active. And what the Chamber of Commerce is doing, I believe this is one of the forms of encouraging businesses to these activities and proactive work. In order to repeat what has been said before, when the pandemic started, the Chamber of Commerce during that calendar year held about 200 various events, just to divide it into 52 weeks, so it was 4 or 5 events every week, and 90% of them were related to development and promotion of our business interests and drawing attention of foreign investors to our business proposals. Of course, then the pandemic started, then the full-scale invasion of Russia started, and of course that had its impact on our work, but for the first months of war, it was just a survival. It was very difficult give us some fresh information, not nostalgic. What I do now. No, this is just the baseline where we started, and what's going on now. We saw that among the priorities of our foreign partners are 7 of 10 of our biggest investors who are investing their assets in Ukraine. What we had to do. Of course, online mode is efficient, but the colleagues will agree. Before I sit at the table with the partner and look into his or her eyes and then see what they prepared. The final decision I will not make about participation or non-participation. So during this 2023 year, we have organized more than 30 foreign events in various countries. In the first place, in those where we anticipate the most feedback and active cooperation. I can reassure you that before 2021, regarding the SMEs, the Chamber of Commerce is open for everyone, but 87% of our members are SMEs, so we are working for their sake in the first place. I will comment as a moderator. I will cut you short, and I would like to give love to everyone. We organized an event with the Chamber of Commerce in Dubai, and the war started. So we were in Dubai when the war started. We had a delegation at Expo 2020, and on 20th of February we got there, and on 24th of February the war started. So we're collaborating and cooperating very closely. I'd like to thank you and the whole delegation. Just imagine women who were abroad when the war started. Yeah, my kids were in Kiev at that time. I know that our employees and our representative regional officers and business business representatives, they didn't know how to get back and whether they need to get back home. Well, it's a separate story, but this testifies for our preparedness of our nation, even for the worst things which may happen. The key areas of activities of the Chamber of Commerce, it's not just our mission abroad. As of today, it's very efficient. Just to give you an example, this week on Monday, we had a very powerful delegation from Japan. Sergiy also participated in that meeting. What was the sense of it? The Japanese, in September, they brought that package of startups, and they conducted 5 rounds of selection of Ukrainian organizations with which they are going to work at the expense of the Japanese funds. So those selected Ukrainian businesses will be the basis for our delegation in Japan February next year. Another area is the active engagement of our regions, because we are working with our regional branches and encouraging them to actively engage foreign partners to develop their regions. And the third thing which we mentioned, the continuous retraining and improvement of skills of businesses, because the situation is very dynamic. People who knew how to act today, that information may be obsolete. So I'm not using this platform as an advertising, but I'd like to reassure you that the Chamber of Commerce will continue working until we have DPP, and thank you for your patience. Olena represents the most powerful organization in the field of innovations and intellectual property. I think it will be interesting for you to get to know about the organization and what they're doing, because the question, the issue of intellectual property, that's the problem our startups have. So, Olena, please tell us what startups need to know about you. Thank you once again for inviting me, and I'm glad that this event is really happening. I represent the Ukrainian Office of Intellectual Property and Innovation, which performs the function of the national body of intellectual property. Under the aegis of the government, we're implementing the state policy in the intellectual property field. We are a successor of Patent, and we're dealing with the global functions. So we're working as the national patent office, which registers the author's rights, and we register the transfer for copyrights, and we're the agency which is actually engaged in protecting intellectual property. And in the Court of Appeals, we opened the Observation Center in collaboration with the European Observatory on Violation of Intellectual Property rights, and we're actively engaged in the educational events and practices. We're spreading our activities to innovations as well, because this is in our statute documents, in our policy of the Ministry of Economy, and we're taking charge also. We're helping developers, inventors, and startups, the creative industries, the authors, in terms of support and consultation regarding how to register intellectual property, how to identify it, and how to commercialize it, etc. Whether it's important or not, I can tell you that in the past 6 months, we managed to start full-scale our operation from the 1st of January. We had a negative report in with the poor results of the European Commission in February this year, and the last European Commission report, which was published, it noted the significant progress in the sphere of intellectual property, also thanks to the legislative amendments and operation of our office. And it outlined further steps related to improvement of the processes and procedures regarding the intellectual property rights protection. On the 16th of November, we had a UK-American board meeting with the head was Mrs. Sviridenko, where we reported, and the American government also noted high level of progress in the sphere of intellectual property. But it's important to note, at present, the most questions addressed to us with the potential investors, they're asking us how the intellectual property is regulated and how the rights are transferred and distributed. We get these questions from the European Union, from American businesses, from the North Atlantic Treaty. We are working with a wide range of institutions, national and profile ministries and agencies. Some of them are present today in the Ministry of Digital Transformation, Ministry of Economy, Ministry of Defense, and Minstratprom, and Ministry of Agricultural Policy. Going forward, it's a wide partnership with business associations and the whole R&D sector. Our direction is supporting the developer, in the first place explaining why IP is it's important to commercialize. The new figure for you, according to the reports today of the European Office of Intellectual Property, 40% of GDP of the European Union is input of the industries with intellectual property, and the same figure was announced in the GDP of the United States. Thank you, Olena, and now I would like to turn floor to Taras Golub. I think you'll share good news now. We feel the wind of European integration. So what's the attitude of Europeans to us? I would like to start with describing my functions. What in reflection, what the impact on in investments. I'm responsible for GDP communication with contacts between government and businesses, and also in the Vice Prime Minister's office, responsible for political support of Ukrainian organizations participating in programs and structural funds of the EU. I'd like to know that as we got the candidacy status, Ukraine there are 17 programs available for Ukraine out of 63 pre-accession programs.
That's where Ukrainian companies can be the sellers of goods and services. You're asking me about what kind of programs they are. Are these grants? Yes. They provide for the irreparable, repayable financial assistance or co-funding. But you should understand that participation in programs is not just about the money. It's about being part of the pan-European strategies, and our players, organizations, associations, business alliances should be part of those programs, including through the competition, in order to be within the context of European business development. Then such competitions are about networking, about the opportunity to work together and use best practices of the leading companies and organizations in Europe that also participate in forming and shaping the world of work in Europe. Participation in such consortia is an opportunity to search partners and allies. I'll give you an example of Ukrainian organizations' participation in the Single Market Program. It aims to support SMEs, cluster development and single market in the European Union. Under this program, Traditionally, you have got two rounds of applications, and organizations wishing to participate can apply. In the autumn, 36 calls were announced. We analyzed those of most value and importance to Ukraine, and those included something related to the development of agro clusters in Europe, and of course that would support the exports of Ukrainian grain. And those calls can engage either clusters or associations, legal entities, associations, or else technological centers. So we distributed this information amongst organizations that are engaged in this sector, Ukrainian business associations. And a month after the opening of the call, we realized that very few of such organizations on the Ukrainian side are capable of forming consortia with their European counterparts. They lack experience, they lack skills, they lack the knowledge of participating in such programs. Then I got in contact with DG Grow, seeking information about European companies or consortia that have applied for such programs. And there I can tell you about a Spanish agro cluster and a Romanian business association. And they consented to cooperate with Ukrainian organizations or associations. I came up with ideas of a whole variety of associations that would be interested in the vegetable oil production. That's one of the associations active in this field, and a couple of other associations. The Spanish consortium opted for one of the associations called EU Foods. It's registered in Vinnytsia and it specializes in agro produce. So we have assisted them in applying for this program, and now the European Commission is to announce its decision, and we hope that Ukrainian association will be successful. So the amount of money available to Ukraine is not that big, but it is about networking, about understanding how to continue working within the frameworks of the project prepared for this call. We hope to carry out strategic analysis of what trends in vegetable or oil production can be promising, and how to look for potential investors to fund the projects that will be launched as a result of the single market program. So, understandably, if the feasibility study is carried out within the frameworks of the European call for projects, then it will enjoy more confidence and trust on the part of potential investors than any other such study. It will be better understood by European counterparts in this very sector, and it will improve opportunities to attract investment to vegetable oil production. Unfortunately, this process of cooperating with the European programs is time-consuming, And whereas the length of the project is 30 to 36 months, it is a bit too slow for Ukraine at this juncture. But anyway, it is a sustainable process, and we can learn a lot about processes and procedures related to European programs. 5 other programs of the European Commission support innovative development. First of all, Horizon, that was available for Ukraine even before our candidate status was granted to us. Then European Council, that's what the Minister of Digital Transformation is working with. Then LIFE program to introduce research and some other programs. By and large, the programs that are open to non-governmental organizations or associations and commercial companies would be as numerous as 7. And to end, I would like to tell you that we are engaged in a dialogue about a separate program for Ukrainian reconstruction called the EU-Ukraine Facility. And while the foundations for this facility are being developed, are being designed, and in the pipeline, Ukrainian associations and businesses should get prepared. The participation in EU-Ukraine facility would not be much different from the practices and procedures that are common for other European programs. And in order to be successful, we need to learn from the existing programs. In addition to the programs available or open to Ukraine as a candidate to the EU accession, Ukrainian organizations can also participate in other programs open to the EU member states, and there Ukrainian companies can participate as associated members. For example, Ukrainian defense program, European defense program, we have got challenges with the manufacturing of military products, dual-use goods. So European defense program can be a co-funding entity here. I would agree with Taras here that it is all about practical learning. Ukrainian businesses should learn how to work with the European funds. It is challenging, but there are various types of programs, governmental programs and startup programs for, say, 1.5 to 5 million euros. But participation in such programs will teach you how to engage in such initiatives, and they will help you as Ukrainian businesses. In the process of European integration, we have to gain this expertise and those skills. A most interesting example is that of Poland. They learn how to use European money to speed up their national development at large and economic development in particular. So now I will give the floor to Andriy Dligach. You have so many caps or hats. Which do you think is the most important for you? We've got 96 associations within our Association of Business Communities, and we've just set up the investment board that helps you international companies to find the most interesting sectors for investment and very specific business projects. And it will also help Ukrainian businesses to package their proposals into successful programs. And you are right, Poles are a very good example to us to follow. So we've started to teach Ukrainian businesses to participate in such programs. Advanter is the leading company in our group. It now runs 17 investment projects in agrarian produce processing, agri-food, new materials, logistics, transportations, etc. Half of those projects have got foreign investments. The board, a business community, brings together more than 200 business owners, most of them in Ukraine, of course, and they are implementing 300 investment projects. Right now, those projects were launched at the beginning of this year, and they have become partners within this community. We carried out 1,700 various events, a very useful platform for the dialogue. Yes, exactly. Now we launched a company, INVESTinUA 5 years ago. It helps form investment portfolios based on AI, and we cooperate with Ukrainian businesses and Ukrainian investments in various spheres. We help form or shape well-balanced investment portfolios, and we support startups as well. We've got 4 ecosystem startups of our own and 20 in our portfolio where we either consult or invest into. So, whereas for businesses, thanks to UkraineInvest and international partners, the funding is available. For startups, there's only this one startup fund, and the money there is almost over. So we have to apply other approaches to the funding of startups. Now, sitting in between two Andriys, I can make a wish, and my wish is for this forum to be practically useful to all of the participants. Right, Andriy, I would like to give the floor to you to listen about your experience of implementing investment projects, not as part of the government, but as part of the business community. Right, we are one of the largest private investors in Ukraine. Dragon Capital, before the all-out war, had about $1 billion in management, asset management in various economic sectors. We are also one of the largest invest bankers in this country. We consult on attracting capital to Ukraine. I represent the FDI area of our activities. We work with those who invest their own capital and capital of our partners. These are global financial investors who use us as vehicle, as a conduit for investments. So we look at investment opportunities in a wide way. We invest in IT, machine building, real estate sector, etc. We understand that working closely with global financial investors, we can resume the inflow of capital into Ukraine. We've resumed our investment last summer. It was the first time that we made an investment after the 24th of February 2022. And large private investors, particularly foreign investors, are very cautious. They are not prepared to invest their money because of the lack of certainty, because of the country threats and the war threats. everyone seemed interested in the longer perspective to support the recovery of Ukraine and the potential boost of private sector through the massive investment in recovery. But everyone is looking for this war to be ended. We will return to it during the second round of questions. It will be about your expectations of recovery. Now it is my great pleasure to give the floor to Maria Shevchuk. IT industry is one of the engines, locomotives of moving our GDP ahead, in addition to the agri sector. And a lot depends on our common support to this industry. But now we can see an alarming trend towards the decrease in the development pace of this sector. Thank you very much. I represent the IT Association, the largest in this country. We work with regional investors and national investors. When it comes to IT industry, it was the only one that grew by 6% last year, and it is a signal to foreign investors and clients that we are capable of adjusting and adapting under various conditions to various environments in this country. We are the industry that can be the driver for Ukraine's recovery after the victory. Now we're speaking about very practical things. We work in two areas. First of all, we work abroad. We speak a lot about the awareness of Ukrainian IT companies, and we work as businesses, and we insist that Ukraine is worth cooperating with. Even despite the war, we are capable of delivering. So we travel intensely. We talk to many investors in Japan twice, and we have just returned for the World Summit, and we promote the narratives that help Ukrainian IT businesses to retain and continue their projects. We created the incredible tech catalog that brings together almost 100 Ukrainian IT companies and solutions. Now, when it comes to specific countries, you might have heard about the Tech Bridge, Ukrainian-British project supporting the cooperation amongst tech companies, and we are one of the implementing agencies. Now, the domestic market, we have a large-scale hybrid project called Enemy Soft, and it deals with eradication of Ukrainian software, of Russian software in Ukraine. Before the war, 90% of Ukrainian companies used Russian software, starting with one C and other accounting software. Now we are promoting Ukrainian narratives, that we also see it as a good investment market opportunities. We also work with the lawmakers to make sure that Ukrainian national legislation is supportive of businesses, because a lot depends on legislation, and it is also an issue of security and safety.
We're working with grants a lot, so if you need practical advice, we are the organization which can work with grants, so we can help you and provide you an advice. It's not that scary. You have to work, and you have to build transparently the mechanism to report transparently later on. So I'm ready to answer your other questions. So Sergiy, first of all, thank you for the presentation. It's usually a speaker from the God, and thank you for a comprehensive presentation. Next year, what's your vision of the next year? Is there are there requests for the next year? Are there more activities So what's your vision from your side? Do you get requests continuously? I will share a few words about who we are. We are the government office. So we are building bridges, investment bridges between Ukrainian business and the international investors, and between international business and Ukraine. When you need support in terms of establishing contacts, finding contacts of someone in the world, when an international investor approaches us, we help them to implement their investments in Ukraine. That's in a nutshell. With our links and competencies, we help with all that. So we are not working with quick investments. So we're working with industrial investments, and those investments take years. If an investor comes with 200, 300, 500 million dollars, so it will take up to 8 years. So it's a long project. When it takes place, it gives a positive signal to others. And there is a lot of interest. We just returned with Andriy from the conference in Warsaw. It was Rebuild Ukraine. Over 3,000 people there. Of course, most of them are willing to sell goods, services, and we need to find those who are ready to sell goods and services via building their enterprises in Ukraine. This is our work. And out of 100 meetings, you can find one investor. So it's a huge bulk of work to select those people, to convince those people, to explain it to them. But it's happening, it takes place, and the government activity in Ukraine and internationally is more active compared to what I see from the business, and the role of international business organizations is very important to activate the interest in investments, because when we're meeting with DFC, this is an American corporation, they say for financing projects, we have insurance programs, so we want to see more projects. It's important to have demand and supply. And supply and demand. We have to be more active in that, to demonstrate business not only what's happening with the war, but what are the prospects. I have two analytical presentations. On the 1st of December, there will be a joint event in the Chamber of Commerce. We will talk about equipment which Ukraine needs, and specifically how much for what sectors, and about energy efficiency we will talk as well. How many materials we need to transform Ukraine. When we talk about analytics, then the business will be interested, because investors are pragmatic people. They need to understand why they need to invest, when they get returns, and who will be the local partner. So there is interest, but let's be more proactive at the business level. Thank you. I would like to address the question to the audience. You can raise your hands, ask questions, and those who listen to us online, because you can write the questions, because moderators are reading those questions. We have a parallel stream, and there are more people than here in the audience. So, colleagues, let's continue. So the key question will be modified slightly about more practical things about the investment climate. What are you feeling? What are your feelings for the next year? Is anything approved? Has anything approved? So let's talk about the gist, about specifics. I already touched upon that question, and what Sergiy just mentioned. Our efforts are focused on activating, and not only now, the business circles, and just to continue those trade events. Our colleagues participated in the trade event in Poland. We conducted a lot of them this year, and next year we are planning even more. For one simple reason which I have already mentioned, the assets of Ukrainian side have to be presented abroad by all means. And as a month ago, at the International Machine Building Conference in Brno. We had 360 square meters of our exhibition. Next year we're planning to have at least 500 square meters. But this is also a task for us to engage to maximum extent to the participants and to activate the businesses. Because in Brno we had a huge number of visitors, and we would like to organize it not only in Brno or Poland. We would like to organize it with our investors from the Netherlands, and they're ranking number 3 in terms of the investments. And we would like to engage the investors from the Persian Gulf, and they're more restrained in this regard. I hope that we will address the Japanese investors with our specific proposals, which we have been discussing for 2 months in Ukraine. I really hope that we'll be able to organize an interesting delegation to Korea, which became very active from the start of the war in 2022. Each of our organizations has its toolkit to achieve their goals and to promote business interests. What we have available in the Chamber of Commerce, we were exploiting those possibilities to represent Ukrainian business abroad. But if those tools are just sitting there, nobody's using them, there won't be any use of them. So we are trying to explain to our businesses through our regional branches, which we have in each of Ukrainian oblasts. So next year, I anticipate victory in the first place. And on that background, activation of our business activities. We wish that God hears your words. Thank you, Valery. Olena. Investments into intellectual property is that's the direction where the world is moving. More investments in innovations, in digital things, and intellectual property. What's your vision of the next years? If you think strategically, because your market is developing, Ukraine at last started to look in that direction, that what we had to do 20 years ago, because we're a super creative nation, and there are a lot of innovations which were developed in Ukraine. They're well known, but they're not registered in Ukraine. One of our tasks is to change the principles and to get vision and understanding that there is a sense. So when you're creating your intellectual property in Ukraine, there's sense in having registered it here, because we'll have tools and services and the level of protection which will help you to get royalties and remuneration here, and provide the IP abroad at the level of license, and transfer technologies abroad, not to get the transfer from abroad, the one which we created here domestically. So the question is, in principle, how IP can change the country's economy on one hand, and on the other, it's a huge reputational component for an investor, both domestic and international. And the third, it's to enable the creator, the startups and innovators to let them understand how they can assess and implement their intellectual property and receive financial remuneration. Our task is to improve as much as possible the existing services, to introduce new ones, and create those services which help in regard to innovations and commercialization of intellectual property, because we are the professional platform which can provide a wide spectrum of consultation and services in this field, and of course to improve the image of Ukraine and its international perception through the prism of intellectual property. Because this year we managed at the General Assembly of the World Organization of Intellectual Property, it's the UN's platform. We got the decision for the favor of Ukraine, and the programs continued for innovative, creative sectors, and we have MOU signed and the work plans developed with the Intellectual Property Office in Europe, Ukraine. The SMEs representatives can get engaged in the programs of recovery of those costs they incurred when registering their brands in the European Union. In this year was 50 SMEs used that opportunity, and that number is growing. By and large, we're cooperating with the European Patent Office, with the American one. We're starting to cooperate with Korea also. We have agreements with Singapore, with the European national bodies, of course, with regard how to find the maximum number of programs to help in various formats for SMEs, for creative industries, and for startups, because we are cooperating also with the Brave and Ukrainian Startup Fund with regard to support the development and the process of technology transfer. Thank you. Thank you. Olena, the question to you. I've been in intellectual property and patents for many years. Is there a vision how to accelerate this issue of observing the patents and trademarks, and as you are working in that area, to exchange with the Ministry of Digital Development, how to digitize all that, because we are a digital state, and the intellectual property and receiving those services, how to go digital in order to expedite it and to get trademarks and patents as soon as possible. Thank you for your question. First of all, we are working on how to expedite the timelines. For the copyright, it takes up to 2 years, and I'm glad that just yesterday the Minister of Justice published the new procedure for registration of authors' rights, and that's the with the technical capability of uploading text for the objects of copyright, we are providing the characteristic as they do in the United States. And for European countries, we don't have this possibility for submitting on behalf of Ukrainian authors. With regard to trademarks, I really hope that by the end of the next year, it will take not more than 1 year, and we'll switch to the European procedures for formal expertise. But as for now, the switch to the European system of the applications for trademarks can be done only as soon as we have IP courts, and there are procedures of mediation and appeals, because otherwise there will be a lot of fraudulent businesses. We have DIA app, and then it will enable you to apply via DIA. That's what we're working at now. I think we will wrap up with the second round of questions, and during the lunch break you'll be able to talk to each of the speakers. The point is that each speaker has their domain. They have a lot to say about their programs and what's going on, so I encourage you to talk to them during the lunch break. And I'll turn the floor to Taras. What's going on in Europe? I was focusing on practical issues, and now our goal is accession to the EU. Next year will be another year of hard struggle. You know that the EU has opened the negotiations. The Vice Prime Minister is visiting now Europe. She's in Berlin, and she's looking for support of the governments of the EU countries in the process of negotiations and voting for support of Ukraine and to take the next integration step. So the next year, of course, we'll have next steps on the road to the EU accession, and now the negotiation process with NATO became more clear and fruitful than it was in the beginning of full-scale Russia's invasion. With regard to my domain, the access of the European organizations to the European funds and programs, I hope that more Ukrainian organizations will apply for various competitions and programs of the EU. I hope that the next year will have progress in terms of Connecting Europe facility, and I hope that among those programs, this is the biggest one. It focuses on supporting projects in building infrastructure. 6 projects were submitted last year, and there are positive dynamics. That's about BCPs. The share of the EU financing is 50% of the total capex. I hope that this year, for Connecting Europe facility, will be able to submit programs from Frontex, and will get more finance from the EU. And that can be, under certain conditions, the EU share can get as high as 80% of capex. And in terms of participation of Ukrainian organizations in the EU, I hope that will enhance our participation in the single market, in innovation developments, and the Ukrainian organization will know how to apply for those competitions, and we'll have more applicants in front consortium. So this is the practical aspects of Euro integration, and this enables Ukrainian organizations to get engaged in practical strategies of the EU and to get finance, and they will be able to learn how to work with the EU partners. This is a very important issue for us, as we'll become full-fledged member in the EU. So thank you for working in that area. I'd like to say that actually the participation in the EU programs is not just a political decision about the exceeding the EU, but I'd like to emphasize that even today we can get to the structural funds of the EU. Not everyone knows how to do that, and my task is to explain it to as many Ukrainian applicants as possible. The floor is given to Andriy. Yeah, I just thought that we are not ready for the EU. We need a lot to do to domestically, because to become the EU member as a poor country, it's not the way to go. And for the economic growth, we need direct foreign investments. And Sergiy says, the question is, are we ready to propose those projects, and are they ready? And working on the EU facility, we're faced with the problem that we have much fewer projects compared to the funding available from the EU. And we see that there are more money than our absorption capability. And to that end, we're working in 2 areas. First of all, to help Ukrainian businesses to learn how to nicely pack the projects according to European standards, and to prepare their businesses for investments. It appears that the majority of businesses are not prepared according to legal schemes and financial models. And of course, it's either a long process to get everything right, or what is proposed in board to make clusters. We're helping to build those clusters. We have 4 of them have been developed.
Now we are building new ones, and we hope that one of them will be able to grow into the technological park in Vinnytsia, bringing together 10 food industry companies. So the same pertains to the furniture sector, energy sector, construction materials sector, in medical tourism, and we've got lots of plans to develop clusters. And then it is about strategies. The investment plan provides for the ability to prove that you've got the market capacity. You can implement the idea, you can form export opportunities for Ukrainian businesses, and we are now working on export consolidation, so to say, in a specific market. The board is present in 9 countries of the world, and that's where we are building export consolidators. But then we should expand towards Africa, Middle East, Northern America, etc. So we have to act. We should not be waiting for the Ukrainian armed forces to gain victory. We should not be thinking about uncertainty. We should be building certainty around us. The victory can come in 10 years, but we should start now. Start acting now. That's exactly what we are doing. A slightly provocative question. The lack of success in investment projects is related to the brain drain. You know, like a lot of startups were launched in Ukraine, but now they are all in the UK. And we cannot invite investment without having opportunity to freely travel around the world, talking to international companies. Starting on the 1st of December, we will help the Ministry of Economy simplify the procedure for border crossing to businesses. Then one shouldn't think that the world is so limited that invest bankers sitting in London would not be able to help businesses in Ukraine. Okay, a CEO Club has got a platform in London, and it is to our mutual benefit because it opens up access to Western money, which would not come to Ukraine unless they see that the environment is quite natural and quite understandable for them. Many people say, we've got too many forae, but forae are important for learning about those investment opportunities, and we need many more investment managers, project managements, and we have to raise them, train them. A very good issue. I'm often asked why I organize so many conferences and other events. Our optimizer introduced about 30 events in Europe last year, and we had in the founder of the currency, then the person from EBRD with Ukrainian background, my former colleague, etc. Andriy, over to you. What do you think about investment climate and recovery? I may add that it is essential to have feet on the ground, particularly for the investors. You have to bring in investors physically for them to be on the ground here in Ukraine. When I was commenting on investment climate, answering your previous question, I said that we do not feel that foreign investors are prepared to come and invest in this country, but there are exceptions from this rule, of course, and these exceptions pertain to asset-light industries like venture investment or IT with no physical assets in the territory of Ukraine. On the other hand, there's investment demand amongst those local investors and foreign investors that have got already their businesses in Ukraine, and such as Carlsberg, then Malytska, the cement manufacturer, as Sergiy said. Those who come to Ukraine right now show change in their mood, in their sentiment. Once they come here, they see what's going on, they realize that there is a qualitative difference between war risks and other risks, and what they read in their media is not quite the correct reflection of the situation on the ground. And it is up to us to attract them, to urge them, to help them come to Ukraine, and hence the need for conferences, forums, communication with potential investors. And our organization focuses to a great extent on promoting Ukraine's opportunities, creating interest amongst European investors to come into Ukraine at a certain stage, and being there, having their feet on the ground to be able to assess the situation as it is. Another question that we have to pose to ourselves: what to do to make Ukraine more attractive to investors, pay taxes, make donations to the armed forces of Ukraine to precipitate our victory. And we have to encourage quality changes in Ukraine, what we usually call reforms. All of those reforms are described by our European partners and American partners. They all rotate around rule of law, deregulation, and a fight against corruption. And we all have to push the government towards accelerating those reforms that will enable us to achieve a totally different societal organization. If I could comment on the behavior of Western funds and how they respond to what's going on in Ukraine. I've got Polish friends in various funds, and they are quite sincere. They say there would be no investment in the next 3 or 5 years. Then Kharkiv Oblast occurred, then Kherson was deoccupied, and they started contacting me asking about our investment portfolio, and they say, okay, we want to be in dialogue. So I say, you are not afraid of coming to Ukraine anymore? They say, I am afraid to lose my chance. So they understand that we can get transformed very quickly, to get restored and recovered very quickly. Maria, what do you think about the future of IT industry? First of all, I would like to comment on what Andriy has mentioned before. We see this practical reinvigoration when governors, business representatives are coming to Ukraine. They need to see it with their own eyes. They need to have the first-hand experience of being in Ukraine. As far as the future is concerned, I would rather discuss opportunities. I represent the sector which is cross-sectoral in nature, and every industry will have to introduce IT innovations, technologies, and solutions. And the sectors, the industries that seem to be far away, distant from IT, or have started to do that. Lots of IT solutions in agrarian sector. We've got wonderful opportunities in defense sector. Just a lot of investors and manufacturers of software or say hardware are also interested in that. We've got a fintech expertise, and the level of technologies in retail and commerce is huge. So Ukraine And Ukrainian IT, before the large-scale invasion, was #1 exporter of IT services in Ukraine. We are referred to as digital tiger of Europe, and we can do that inside the country to become more attractive, more competitive. The investors will follow the opportunities. Once you create them, then the risks would be analyzed, they would be mitigated, but they would not be so daunting on investors who then take decisions. And so my recommendation is start cooperating right now, not to lose your chance. It's the right time for you to start building better future in the country. The IT sector is extremely open, so I encourage all of you to start thinking about it right now. Sergiy, war risks, we now see that some of the programs have been resumed. So what about those risks? I spoke about 9015, this bill that is pending in Parliament, and we are ready to offer insurance. MIGA has started investing. The insurance processes are underway. Our German partners are prepared to provide insurance, more than 100 million euros in insurance for German companies. Then Polish partners also think of how to insure Polish and other FDIs in Ukraine. But the risks for foreign investors look like this. Once they come here en masse and participate in rebuilding and transformation of Ukraine, they will have risks related to permit obtaining land and land allocation documentation, but we've proven that we can do that fairly quickly and speedily and in a smart way. But there is a certain tautology here. Investment requires investment. Ukrainian investor or entrepreneur should invest into themselves to attract foreign investment. We've got this market economy. It's open. The one who comes first takes it first. German companies that turn up in the market will have the largest share in the market, not because we are selling the country left, right, and center, but because we are open to international businesses. I visited very successful businesses in Ukraine, and when we speak about investment, they say, yes, of course, we need investment of up to $50 million of the USA. But when I ask them about their investment plan, they say, why should I need it? Give me the money, I've got the enterprise, and you will have return on your investment, Troy. But for investors, it is essential to see your plans. They want to know what your targets are, and that will be safeguard against lack of inefficiency in the business. So Invest Board is key, as Andriy says. If regulatory things can be achieved fairly soon, the mentality and approaches to communication with the investor is still work in progress. And I would like to thank UNDP for cooperation with Ukraine's government for your support in introducing innovative investment mechanisms in Ukraine, because it's about Ukrainian SMEs getting access to both funds and insurance with very special, very favorable tariffs, the blended funnels, import investment, etc. These are the things that deserve to be developed in this country. Let us invest into ourselves in order to make our country attractive to foreign investors. I would like to thank all speakers, and I understand that we've managed to promote one and the same message, despite having this wide range of speakers from different sectors. I suggest that we continue our discussion during our lunch break, but we would like to have a group picture of the speakers first, and then family picture with all of the participants, if I may. Yeah, we are the viewers, and let us give a round of applause to our star-struck speakers. Right, now I would ask our speakers to come down from this stage, and our photographer would be on stage, and then we will have the overall family picture with all of the participants. So we'll do that very quickly and efficiently, remembering about lunch outdoor in the hallway. Your applause to the speakers, and now a family picture. Okay? From here. Right. Okay.